It is early. It is 7 a.m. in Texas.
Oh my God, you beat me. It's 8 a.m. here.
It is a challenge for sure.
So,
Well,
ladies,
thank you for getting up so early.
welcome again to a very special event which we are doing online in the event series of Virtual Ops 2020. It's a big pleasure to have you all with us for the second Aviation Women panel with the subtitle Empower Women in Aviation and Technology. The first one we had some weeks back, and it's also available on our event page. So the concept will be that I'm just introducing everybody, and then we are going to discuss the topic around empower women in aviation and IT. And the idea is that everybody speaks up. So you can, of course, raise the hand. That's a functionality in Teams. And then I can somehow engage with everybody, but you can also just ask the questions lively. And to give a flavor to the audience out there, which will probably watch this session afterwards, we have here really a big brain pool in this session. A lot of great airlines and great companies you were working with or working for in the past. And I think that's also one sample how important and how powerful women are for the airline, aviation and technology industry. And I suggest before we jump into the topic that we are starting with an introduction of all the participants from all over the world. So I'm really amazed how global we are meanwhile going, and how many great women we have in the session. So I'm starting with Aditi. Please introduce yourself with the company and how long you're working in the industry.
Hi everyone, I'm Aditi Kumari. I work with Indigo in India, back here in Delhi. It's the capital of India, and I've been with Indigo for the last 10 years. Right after my graduation, I started working.
Next one is Anne.
Hello, everybody. I'm Anne Cedarhall. I've also been in the industry for, well, over 25 years in both airlines and industry bodies, lots of different players, corporate travel, etc. And I'm freelancing, based out of Sweden these days. Next one.
Hello, I'm from Malaysia. I'm Darshini, and aviation has been a unique part of my life for past 12 years, right from ground operation at AirAsia to startup crewing team member to Aviation India to pre-ops at Qatar Airways, and now I'm back to Aviation Malaysia as manpower planning.
Sandhya is next.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Sandhya Nair. I'm from IBS Software Services, Trivandrum, and I lead the product training and business change management, enabling the airline and travel industry adopt new software, new technology, and new work practices. Now, before I joined IBS, I've had long innings in teaching and training, which is more of a passion. But then combining that passion with helping airlines in business transformation is what probably has made my role exciting over the last 20 years. Thank you.
I hope we have Ed Lever with us this time. Not in the call. Alison from Australia.
Yes, good morning to everyone. It's very late here. It's about 10 p.m. here. I am a project manager at Virgin Australia, and I've been in Virgin Australia for about 16 years now, with just one short break.
Erika.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erika. I'm based in Brazil. I'm an executive in the software industry, 20 plus 5 years probably. And I'm joined IBS this year. I'm responsible for Latin America. My role is sales director, so I help the airlines in this side of the world to transform their business too. I'm super happy to join the conversation today.
Gayatri.
Hello everyone. My name is Putri and I have been working with IBS for the past 12 years. Um, yeah, some of you might remember me from our past Mama's last session. Just to remind everyone, I work closely with the IBS crew tracking software, the new generation tracking system, and I'm based at India.
Sintra.
Hey, yes. I am Zinta. I'm originally from Latvia, now living in Germany. I work for Police Systems. And I've been working in IT for over, I think now 22 years. And the last 10 years been in connection with Avio company.
Jennifer. Not on the call. Christine.
Good morning, everyone from Canada. I spent almost 20 years with Air Canada until recent events. Most of the career was spent technical writing on different technical publications required for the air operator, maintenance, and engineering organizations. And the last year, I had the most fun. I got to delve into issues that occurred across the airline, specifically the aircraft turn, which is every part, which touches rather many people. Sorry, I'm a little nervous this morning, and it's very early. So I'm just...
Usually it's me who is only nervous, but I'm glad that I have somebody who is my teammate then. So then we go to Denmark.
Hi, this is Sane, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm Sane, and I work as customer success manager at Satir, which is the Airbus service company, and I'm the customer success manager for digital marketplace here. Thank you.
Now we are listening to the power of Colombia, Maria. Maria, you're not on the call?
Sorry, I joined from my computer and my, wait, there's an echo, on my cell phone. So yes, my name is Maria Jaramillo. I work with Lufthansa Technic. I'm originally from Colombia, but based in Miami since 2008. And I've been with Lufthansa for 10 years now. Last Sunday was my anniversary. My role is business development with the corporate sales team here in the Americas.
Mladenka.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mladenka. I work for Maureva for almost 5 years now, and I am Chief Innovation Officer. Apart from that, I have 15 more years of experience in this lovely industry, and I was working for Montenegro Airlines previously. So currently in charge for NDC and one order process project in Maureva, but also distribution processes in general. Pleased to be here and talk to you all.
The pleasure is on our side. Elizabeth.
Well, hello everybody from London. It's a pleasure to be here with so many like-minded women. I've been in the industry for more than 20 years. I'm working for Atris Technologies for the past 2. Atris is a provider of software for the travel industry, especially to corporates and to travel management companies. So I'm responsible for suppliers, so airlines, ground transportation, hospitality, and NDC and One Order. And prior to that, I've worked in the airline industry with IBS, with Amadeus, and with Travelport. And I was also managing director for Sabre for the UK and Ireland for the past 5 years prior to joining Atris.
Patricia.
Hi guys, can you hear me? I always forget to put on mute now. Okay, I'm Patricia Wolf, mostly known as Nikki. I work for LHT in Miami for the past, I've been here for the past 15 years. I do mostly marketing and event coordination, and I support the corporate sales team for the Americas.
Do we have Priya with us? So then we go to Sapna, because Sandhya can also not do it. Sapna? Then we move to Ursula. Ursula, are you muted?
Sorry, yes. Forgot to unmute. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. I've been in the aviation and travel industry for more than 25 years. And actually, I've always been driving change in terms of digital, in terms of innovation, distribution, customer focus. I work most of the time in senior commercial roles as Chief Commercial Officer, EVP Commercial, or similar for airline groups within the Lufthansa Group, Virgin Group, different countries, different markets. So I won't continue quite a long list, but I also worked on the technical side, for example, for Lufthansa Systems at some stage, and with a lot of startups to drive innovation.
Suhaila in Malaysia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Suhaila. I'm from AirAsia. I've been attached with AirAsia for close to 12 years and been a pretty much as a crew planning and training manager for the last 6 years.
Bhavana.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bhavna Nair. I'm from IBS Software. I manage the internal communications and branding for IBS Software. Thank you, Daniel, for having me here. Indeed, privileged to be part of this great panel. Thank you.
Now we are moving to the US. Ruth.
Good morning, everyone. 7 a.m. here, so forgive me. I still have coffee going on. Excuse me, I was in the aviation industry for about 9 years. Started in reservations and worked my way up. The latest job I had was with network planning, and the IT side, I was developing software for the scheduling team. Thank you, Daniel and Kristen, for inviting me here. The other job that I had, which was completely volunteer, was I was a global lead for our women's organization within the airline, and we had 18 chapters. And so it was great to watch these women grow, teach them, lead them, and hoping to share a lot of things here with you guys today, ladies today, and Daniel.
So great that we have you with us. Is Esther in the call? Sapna joined meanwhile? Good. Then let's move on. We have collated a bunch of topics we would like to address today. And also thanks to Christine and Anne for supporting me in collecting all this and preparing. And so that's why I would like to drop the ball to Anne. What do you think would help women to be more empowered in the aviation industry and in the technology industry? Where are the limitations and challenges you, with your experience, see are the most pressing?
Yeah, it's very multifaceted, isn't it? And it's also very cultural, right? Of course, we have these general what's stopping women. I don't think we need to go there with the different the complexity of being female and all of that. But apart from that, I probably would say that I think women are less able to sort of step forward and say, "Here I am," and I'm pretty good at it, but I think that I could be even better at, just really telling the world how fantastic I am. I think that's probably one problem. I'd love to hear from others on this, what they think. I don't really think that we take up the room as much as men generally do.
Yeah, it's an interesting what you're saying, because I remember, and that I think Christine was quickly asking Priya in the first aviation panel, "Oh, you're a female pilot, how come?" And I think, if I recall correctly, Priya was saying, "Yeah, I took it very pragmatically, and it was for me a job opportunity, and I was not pretty much in technology, but it was for me giving a lot of opportunity." Does it mean that we have to start then in the education systems, where usually there is also already this thing between boys and girls? Is this the root cause for everything?
I'd like to add one other thing, one aspect that, I mean, I personally have been very good at it. I'm very happy to take risk. I'm very happy to say, oh, I don't know anything about that. I gladly jump to that job. That interests me, etc. Where I would generally say that women sort of tend to say, ooh, would that be too difficult? Should I really, should I play it safe with what I got? I'm not necessarily saying this is typically so much, well, I think it's more female than male anyway. That's my, that we are prone to sort of be less, well, we're more risk adverse, I would say. Love to hear from others what they think on that. Those are the two elements, I think, of this one.
Yeah, excuse me. I was going to jump in here. I think also there comes some unconscious biases that women who are assertive and, being very, shall we say, dominant. Dominant's probably not the right word, but assertive, that we are appearing to be aggressive or, the big B word, where a man doing the same thing is not seen that way. And so that comes with its own challenges in and of itself, right? How can we be assertive without appearing to be aggressive, and how do we get past that?
Yeah.
Ursula, you had something to say?
Yeah. Maybe first of all, even one direct comment to what was just said. There are lots of there's lots of research about it, which has been going on for years. And the interesting thing is that even men, if they are not assertive, dependent on the environment, would also be regarded as awkward. So it all depends.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Frozen in time.
Only pre-internet time, but also in times where maybe women were supposed to be at home, not working and following their career, etc. So it's maybe a mix of all of this. But in the business environment, the previous periods, and let's say the last century, was kind of looking for leadership with traditional behaviors like control and corrective action, power, assertiveness, individualistic decision making, and a lot of hierarchy. If you look at what's needed today to be successful, it's to create a vision, to give inspiration to the teams, to foster collaboration, to support and develop team members, to show empathy, to overcome silos, to work in a very agile way, to have the courage actually for trial and error. And if you look at this, all of these are more female strengths. And I think it would be wrong for females to try against their personality to just say, now we have to be assertive and do all of the things that men did. I think the current environment needs more other qualities. And I think this is also where you see that it's opening up and will open up more and will give actually more opportunities. But it's important also to stick to your personality and rather use those strengths of this as a woman.
Elizabeth, what are your thoughts about it?
Yes, I agree entirely with Ursula, and it's interesting because at middle management level, you can see lots of women, and they lead teams, and the teams are successful, and they manage to nurture them and motivate.
You're cutting off.
Often, okay, amen. Sorry?
You were cutting off, so we missed a little bit of your sentence. Would you mind
Okay.
repeating?
Can you hear me now, or
Yep.
is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just saying that at middle management level, you see many women that are very successful or as successful as any man. It's when you start to go up to the upper layers of the organizations that you start to see them mostly, right? And I think that's one of the issues. Yeah, can you hear me? Yes. And there are several studies about it. It has to do with the way that we express ourselves, which is very different from men, how men express them. So we tend to say things like, well, maybe we should do this, or maybe we should go that way. So we are not as forceful. We don't express ourselves in a very forceful way. So normally men, they are the top hierarchy, right? So they don't understand that when we mean maybe we should do this, we actually mean this is the best way to do it, right? Because if we say this is the best way to do it, you're probably perceived as being, oh, she's very aggressive as a woman. But it's very difficult because at the end of the day, our demand that are on the top organizations, and they don't understand the way we speak, because we speak differently. We express ourselves differently, although we want to say the same thing. And there is a very interesting article about it. It was written many years ago on the Harvard Business Magazine, and they actually kept it because I felt so identified with it to keep it for because it's I don't know if you agree, ladies.
No, first of all, I have to say it's exactly what describes the situation also at home, and I'm also have sometimes a talk with my wife, and there is this typical sample: man is driving a car, and the wife is asking, my dear, do you need to go to the bathroom? And of course the driver says, no, I don't need to go to the bathroom. In fact, she needs to go to the bathroom, and instead of saying I need to go, she's asking, do you need to go? And I think that's exactly what you were speaking about, and it recalls me my daily life with my wife. And for me, it's very important, happy wife, happy life. So that's why I need to understand how my wife is communicating.
But
Daniel,
it's quite interesting to see a man connecting all the ladies here.
Yeah. Actually, I had a question, more like a comment.
Yeah.
So, just coming back to the previous sentence that was made regarding the middle level managers being a lot of women who does the nurturing and collaboration with teams and keeping everything together. Does that mean that higher level management doesn't need those, attitudes towards life? Or at the moment, just historically, it has not been needed, and moving over this middle management thus are making things complicated?
Well, personally, I think that you just don't get to be promoted from that middle management level. I think that those same attributes are absolutely needed at a higher level. Often you see that they are probably more risk takers without thinking of the consequences, and that happen in many companies, like banks and so on. And that's a very, that's an attribute in demand by other man, because they see that as being successful. But if you just look at the management of the COVID crisis by the countries where you have women in charge, it has been dramatically different. So I think it is needed. I think that we are just not given the opportunity to do that.
I'm not so sure. Yeah, I think it really has some to do with, like I said, taking risks. And when I go back looking at some of the best managers I've had and some of the worst, I can say that I've had some great female leadership. I've had some great male leadership. What makes them so great is actually they are very similar sort of people. I mean, the people-oriented persons, right? I've had some terrible managers. I've had some managers that are sort of, grey, sort of in between, good at some things, but not particularly good at other things. And then, of course, and that's kind of interesting because I was thinking I've had 5 managers who have been, I would say, close to psychopaths or, completely impossible to work with. And I took a look at, who were they? And so they're actually 3 men and 2 women. So what does that tell us, right? I think it's 50-50 there. I think it has, I really think that there are opportunities for female leadership. I do think that there is an all boys club or a boys network, a men's network that typically promotes from within though. So I think it's, and question is that going to change? And how long is that going to take?
Sandhya, what's your opinion on that?
I think when you look at it, like all of you said, there should be a kind of a balance, probably professionally as well as personally too, right? See, professionally, you have your managers, like Anne was saying, we would have managers probably who are ones who would have the confidence in us and, help us or empower us to take up responsibilities, give us that confidence. Now we go ahead that way, but then at home too, you would need to have equally supporting people. Right? Otherwise, you don't kind of strike a balance, and you're not completely in what you're doing. So even though you bring out the best in you, there's something at the back of your mind gnawing into you because it's not okay. So I guess like how we were talking about different people, there are good managers, there are good people at home too. Then I think mainly to have that confidence in ourselves. When we have that confidence in ourselves, probably it comes out better. And of course, with the empowerment and encouragement of people around, you get a lot of opportunities which you can step in without a second thought. Of course, we do definitely make mistakes. Who doesn't, right? So with that, and there's nothing to lose. Even when Daniel invited me for this session, first thing probably I would have thought, oh God, you're all so, experienced and you're from different locations globally. Do I really fit in? Now, if I had to have that thought and, if I were to say no to it, I would have lost an opportunity. Now I'm listening to you. I'm able to talk to you. I feel very honored and great. And I think that's right.
Thanks for this comment, because I'm just looking to Bhavana and I remember what you were writing me as first email. So Bhavana, what's now your feel being here on this panel?
I'm really looking forward to listening to everybody. I actually went through the first video as well, and that actually got me to come and sit here and listen to all of you. Yeah, I'm really honored, and I'm glad that I accepted your invitation, Daniel. Thank you so much for that.
And so, if I could just jump in quick, Daniel, if I could say something quickly to Sandhya, I'm surprised when I hear women, especially with someone like you with your background, that you were hesitant to participate in something like this. I was obviously nervous at the beginning today, primarily because I invited someone and I was really hoping she would have a good experience. I hope it's going well so far, Ruth. But Sandhya, I was nervous to participate in something that spoke about work and working when I'm not working anymore. I'm at home, not working, no longer really in the industry, and yet I don't want to let go of it. And primarily, I don't want to let go of the path that I had put myself onto with speaking with other women, hearing their experiences, hearing their challenges, getting very stubborn and doing whatever I could to take roadblocks out of their ways. So primarily, that's why we're all here. So just hearing that we're all having the same challenges, and I really liked your comments about good, bad, and psychotic managers, because I'm thinking back to a couple that definitely had some emotional issues. And it's funny that you say that, because I had one female manager. There were 3 owners in the company, 2 women and men were married, and there was his brother. Every Friday, the brothers would bring me into their office and yell at me. And I was in my late 20s. So basically, I would stand there and cry. And she introduced me to coffee to keep me awake primarily, but also I guess to somehow bond with me. And there was this huge power struggle going on between them. And I only realized it about 10 years later that I was like their plaything. They were frustrated and ticked off because the business was tough. It was beauty products, not an easy business. It's not a recovery proof business, right? So you look back on experiences with different managers and you think, how did I survive that? And with my very last manager, who allowed me to step into a very scary, very daunting role with all kinds of artificial intelligence data implications I had never been exposed to. And yet walking into it was like walking out my front door into the sunshine. It was the most beautiful experience. So thank you for letting me speak. And Zinta, did you get to say your last point?
Sorry?
I saw that your hand was up and I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to speak.
Yes. There's actually 2 points. One regarding what you just said. So I think that's one of the topics that we definitely should touch in one of the meetings here is psychological health of the how it affects women, especially in the workplace, being bullied sometimes. Number 2 is actually the opposite of that, because I have noticed that I have made the biggest strides in my career at the point when I'm slightly annoyed, not mad, crazy, angry, but slightly annoyed of the situation, because that leaves you that kind of balance that allows you to go into the places what you wouldn't normally do, because I am, calm person. I don't like to go and make a big fights or anything like that. But you get me to that point where I still can express my feelings in a cultural manner, but the annoyance gives you that edge that men have, and that helps.
No, isn't that assertiveness though? I mean, but I would just like to add about the bad leadership or bad managers. I mean, there's one thing that they have in common, and that's regardless whether they're male or female, they are very insecure people, and that's something that you quickly realize when you come across them. It's kind of different from the psychopaths. The psychopaths are. They certainly are not insecure in any way. They are narcissists and very convinced that they are better than, and those people you should stay away from with a 10-foot pole, in my book.
I couldn't agree more on that what you said and right now, because trust me, one of the worst managers that I had was a female and a narcissist. So it really didn't have anything to do with the poll. And I think when it comes to leadership, it really goes beyond the being male or female. It's more having the tools and being aware of the surrounding, having sufficient of emotional intelligence to run through usual daily routines. But yeah, you can find both on both sides, which unfortunately is another subject I would say that could go along in this company and also in some other, let's say, setup. Maybe we could have Daniel join some guys to exchange on that together with us.
That's of course something we will hopefully discuss. What's the next? I think in the first session we're discussing to have a third panel where we are inviting some male guests and then discuss exactly a little bit, not confrontational, but exactly these male-female thing together. But that's something we need to agree at the end. So I see Suhaila has also a thought on this.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't play my video somehow. The video is not working. But listening to all the comments, I mean, I just wanted to my experience working with AirAsia and my growth in the company, it's been quite blessing. You know, had my managers or my bosses have been males, but they really lifted me up or guided me through and brought me where I am currently. So I think end of the day, you have to be lucky as well to be dealing with people who really, they don't go into this male chauvinist or, So I just wanted to say that I had a great experience, but it's interesting to know that, what usually women experience out there. And even in my department itself, I know that a position was given away to someone else because she was a female, and the expectation that she will go into pregnancy and she will not be around to handle the team. So it was given away. So I've seen that happen, but thank God that it never happened to me, and I had a great experience at work.
I think, Aditi, you can somehow say the same, because you were amazing us with this information that I think 33% of managers are female in your airline, isn't it?
That's right. Our leadership is mostly, I think, 33% driven by the female side, and a lot of our management teams and most of our HR and everyone's female as well. And apart from that, even our because of the cabin crew as well, we have this rule of having only female cabin crew. So that's another thing that drives up the percentage. More than 50% of the staff in Indigo are also female. But apart from that, I'd also like to add, just like Sahila said, we also have these things like if someone's really deserving, even though they're going on their maternity leave or coming back from their maternity leave, if they deserve it, in my team I've seen it, and in other teams also I've seen it, they've got their due promotion as well. But but then again, I would really say that there are people of all kinds, and I think it completely depends on person to person. So like one manager who has that sort of attitude of thinking that a female may not be able to do so much justice after having a baby, they would probably perceive it more like a burden and then would make certain comments about it. But then there are others who really strongly believe that a person like that who's coming back from maternity and still having that attitude of getting back to work and working will actually work harder because they have a point to prove as well. And I think as women, always we perceived as multiple things that we have to prove in life with respect to having a work-life balance, with respect to managing our personal lives and still be able to do justice. So each point of time, that balance is always being questioned by certain individuals, and then on the other side are supported by others.
Thank you for this comment. So that's really fantastic. And I would like to know now, how is it in Brazil, Erica?
Yeah, hello. I was listening to Dzindra comment, and I have the feeling to speak out about some experience I had on this men and female, because I've been working with technology since ever, right? So when I joined, I was inside data center, install databases, final tuning systems, and so on. So I got a lot of nails broken about putting the memory pans on the computer and so on. And by that time, I remember that I had that feeling to compete as an equal. Well, I was about 20, right? So 26 years later, I've learned that being male or female in a business situation is more about to be confident on your capabilities. So once I learned that I don't need to be bothered with the man behavior because they are different than me and I have a different set of tools to be successful. And somehow this helped us, I think, as a woman, right, to position ourselves. I'm a mother of 3, so I had this motherhood and professional work balance to deal with that Edith just mentioned, right? And the managers, I had female and female as well. So I don't know, but the feeling that I have today is that it's all about being confident on the capabilities you have, because this will make you stronger wherever you put your steps. Wherever you step in, if you are confident about who you are and what are your capability, right? You don't need to put yourself in a competition position, because for sure we have a lot of good things as well the men have, right? And I'm glad that I have been working with them, because I learned to be more focused, to be more sometimes straight to the point, which is good already, right? But I never forget, just to illustrate that, I had a very talented boss in the past, and every time we had a very difficult situation to overcome, he stopped the meeting and he used to say, go to a hair salon, get yourself a hair treatment and come back with the solution, because he knows that our mind never stops. Can be changing diapers and we are trying to overcome a situation because we are we are not single line. And when you do something else, you get oxygen and then you get space in your head, and then you find the solutions, right? And at the same time, you can be really tough in a situation in a business discussion, and you have an insight about something at your kids or your house or something like that. So this multitude of thinking thoughts, I think it's the strong capability of a woman has, right? If I ask my husband 3 things, probably they will forget the third, because they will concentrate on how to be successful in the first one. They will forget to do barely he will remember the second, but definitely he will not remember the third. And another interesting thing is, I always thought it's a mother's fault. Oh, this man is like that because his mother treated him in that way, you know? Then I had 2 boys. And I used to say the first word that my middle son learned wasn't mom, was where is it? Where is it? And he keeps saying where is it until today. So this just show me how the mind of men and women are somehow different, the way they see, the way they process, and there is no problem with that. The problem begins when we start competing each other and we start to willing to be like them, or they try to criticize the way we were, right? So that's where the problem begins, even if it's your wife or it's your boss or it's your son, independent of the role. I think that's when this men discussions, men conflicts happen.
That was a nice statement from Brazil. And now I'm very curious, because usually if 11 Brazilian male, they meet 11 Colombian male and they play soccer, it's like this. And now I want to know, Maria, what you are thinking all about this, because you're from Colombia.
Yes, I wanted to pick a little bit on what Erica mentioned, and also Sandia and Bhavana, I think is your name. I was also a little bit apprehensive of, I don't know, or like doubting myself when you invited me to join. And I'm like, oh my God, they are so prepared. Am I at the level where I can participate? I was very insecure. And I think this is a pattern perhaps in the industry. We doubt ourselves too much. Guys are super confident. They enter the room. They know they don't know it all, but they will do their best and they own it. And we're always perhaps even better prepared with a better set of skills for a specific purpose. But we question ourselves so much that we are our own, putting the stop in our path. They open the way, and people can see that. Right, you have to reflect the confidence, and sometimes this confidence is not there, and it's only a matter of it's a self-confidence thing. No one else is gonna give it to you. You have to enter the room owning it, and for me it has been very difficult to realize that, and it's something that I've learned from my male managers. I had in the past, and now I have an amazing manager, and this is something I see from them, and it's something I get from them. I was not aware of that before. So I think this perhaps is something we might need to think a little bit more, to be more like successful in the industry, to reach higher levels of management, and to know, like what Erica said, like we are different, but we can complement each other. So that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But that's a nice comment, because it's somehow touching one of the topics we have put on our list. Have you identified something you needed that your organization could not provide? For example, seeking a mentor. So is this then somehow a key for the solution, that women are actively looking for a mentor that can be a male or female? Or is it then exactly the right to ask for a male mentor who is then giving some of the hints and tool sets to have this confidence?
I think having a mentor is really important. I don't know if a female, or like if a woman or a man, maybe we should talk more about attributes, female attributes and male attributes. And sometimes they are in in both, you know, like, but definitely having a good mentor that is like guiding you through your development process is very, very important. And sometimes we don't have that. But also not only a mentor but a referent, like, it's, for me it has been very important to see people women in leadership positions within Lufthansa, for example. They are not my mentors, but I look up to them. I see them and I say, okay, if they were able to do it, I am able to do it too. How did they do? What is their path? What did they do to get where they are? So having both a mentor and a reference within an organization, I find very important. Yeah.
Alison, for you, it's, I think, the latest. I hope you're still with us, because it's bedtime for you, I would say, in Australia. So what kept you up that you were attending our panel? What motivated you?
To be honest, it's actually, to be completely honest, what's motivated me is the opportunity. And with everything that's happened with COVID lately, what I've found, one of the blessings of it is new opportunities that I might not have had before. Like everyone here, I'm sure we all live incredibly busy lives. And when it comes to the opportunity to network, obviously doing a long day of work, looking after the family and the kids, and then trying to get out to a networking event isn't always possible. With COVID brings a lot more online and virtual events that have actually made things easier. So I'm sort of trying to sort of relish in those opportunities. And this was one of the ones that has just came up. I personally have been on stand down or furlough for the last 2 months, and just came back to work last week when this popped in. So I thought I'd jump at the opportunity. But in the conversation that we were having, there was just something that I wanted to call out, that I think there's two very different items that I think are being discussed tonight. There were a couple of people that were talking about the assumption that a female may not be eligible or entitled to certain positions because we do have families, etc. And I just wanted to call out that in this day and age, that in itself is discrimination. And I don't think that is, I certainly hope a lot of people are seeing a lot less of that nowadays. And it's more about the personal and the personality constraints that Anne and Erica were talking about, that we're really seeing that development, that focus on now. I do think in our industry and many industries, there is still very much an embedded sort of cultural and generational thought. And I know later we're going to talk about boys clubs, etc., that we still need to overcome. But I do sort of hope that we're seeing a lot less of that pure discrimination because someone's female, and now we're sort of tackling those other issues that we're talking about, like those personality constraints that we're coming up against.
Patricia, what's your thought on?
Sorry, could I just jump in real quick on? I'm so rude. I didn't put my hand up. I've been out of the office for too long. I forgot how to behave. Sorry. Alison, you just inspired me to say, we don't need to overcome the old boys club. We need just to blow past it. It can still exist if it wants to. It can do whatever the heck it wants. We don't need it. We don't use it. And it doesn't actually impact us unless we let it. And sorry, Daniel, who were you calling on?
No, so that means you want to found an old women's club then, isn't it?
Why does it have to be old?
We already
not old, not old.
Old boys, old girls. So come on, that's only fair.
I would be the older woman in the club.
Okay, so Patricia in Miami.
No, what I wanted to say is, like, I agree with all of you, and it's not even about who's a better manager, male, female. Fact is, I work in a German company. To most of us, or at all, it's known as a conservative old company. Okay, Lufthansa Technik. I believe we're getting younger, but that's my opinion. I had in the past 15 years only male bosses, and I loved them all. I was blessed that they are amazing. I share nowadays a boss with Maria, and I can say he's completely supportive. And I think no matter what Maria said, no matter if you are male or female, a young person always should have a mentor, no matter if it's male or female as well, to guide them through or to find the path into business. But what the observation is, it's not about bad or good, because like I said, my male bosses were always amazing. But after a certain level, like I think what's somebody already mentioned that earlier, there are no females. Like our company is like after like third level managers. After that, we have plenty of managers, group leader, team leaders, plenty of females. But above that, nothing. We have one female on the board, and otherwise no. Like my boss's level, there are no females. But the question is, it's not only because, oh, they believe in men and they think men are better. No, I think also there is nobody who, or maybe there's percentage-wise, way less women that aspire these positions than there are men. So what comes first? Do we not have enough women to actually want to get there? Or is the company just simply not looking out enough for the women, you know?
Is it necessary to have, because the industry is pretty much regulated, is it necessary to regulate this? Is it necessary to put laws in and regulations that a certain percentage, or is this rather weakening then exactly the position of the woman in the position?
I wouldn't regulate it, because then I feel like it becomes a subject again of minority and majority, and I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just that 100 years ago only men went to hunt. Nowadays women want to hunt too, and it just needs to kind of get there. And in companies like mine or like ours, it is very slow, and unfortunately I think some might be overseen, like some women, and in other cases they're just not enough, because some say, I'm fine in my team leader position, I want to have my family and my freedom. When I see my bosses 24/7 working, I don't think, like, from all women that want to work, 50% will probably easily say, we don't even want that stress, because we have our business at home, meaning family, and because women don't sit at home and do nothing, you know? Women have an organization at home. So I think it's just like the percentage is just different. And also a company like LHT being so old and established and like with their processes, they just need to learn and also maybe develop more women. But that's like, it's our job also to create this generation to hire more women that work in technology or engineering. I mean, like I said, 10, 20 years ago, you guys all, but a lot of women didn't even like these studies or these jobs. They wanted to do marketing, and and now they're way more like what we had on applications for engineering and technology. That's amazing.
But is COVID-19 maybe then the big opportunity? Because I have huge respect, especially for my colleagues who are in a lockdown situation, and still we keep everything rolling. And I know that all these women are also taking care of family, household, and all that stuff. And I'm also a big benefiter of exactly such a great wife at home who is managing everything, and we have a fantastic balcony and the flowers and all that stuff. On the other hand, of course, I'm seeing how many things are ordered online. So finally, I see what she is doing. You are right, so she's never stopping things. And so, but is it now not an opportunity for women to show up and to show also within their organization and their company how great they are managing all that in such a very critical COVID-19 situation?
Daniel, if I can say something, I just I think that well, there's probably a cultural thing, and in different countries things operate in a different way, right? So, for example, one of my nationalities is Spanish, and in Spain, 50% of the government, is constituted by women. In the companies, so in Iberia, you have a lot, for example, talking about an airline, there's a lot of women in high positions, Here in the UK, it's completely the opposite. So the government is made of men. The past government was made of men. And I'm pretty sure that there was only 2 prime ministers that were women. So I think it depends on in a country by country basis. But I also think that, thinking that women, are managing the house and, managing and have to prove that they are able to manage different things at the same time is also a comment that I would say it doesn't correspond to the truth. In lots of households today, the work is shared. So, people share the responsibility with children and share responsibility with houses. And I work for a company where they've asked me, in a meeting, someplace, I don't know, we were in Asia, with other colleagues. And they asked me, so do you cook? And I said, well, actually, no. And they said, well, my husband, it's normally the one that does the cooking. And they said, oh, so when you're not at home, who organizes everything? They said, well, he does, exactly like he does when I'm at home. So I don't think that, I think that, of course, some women have to overcome a lot of barriers because of the countries they are born, because there's some expectations, some things are expected for them that are not expected for others. But I think it's a matter of education, right? And I think that it's true. Just somebody just said there's not a lot of women engineering, and now there are a lot of them. But it has to do with education of men and women. And the more people are educated, the less difference we would see, between the sexes and in companies and all that. So I think that education is fundamental.
I'd love to jump in here. It's Anne. I'd like to, really good points there, Elizabeth. And, in Sweden, we also have 50% of the government are women. And something very important is that childcare, of course, is free, right? I lived 6 years in Switzerland, where childcare typically in Zurich starts at 3,000 euros a month per child. Right? Meaning that you typically end up in, well, most people that I know, it's just not, possible for the woman to keep her job because it's just way too expensive. I mean, all her wages, if not more, goes towards paying for the child support. So it's actually cheaper for us to stay at home, which I think is very problematic. So these financial barriers are really hard. And I thought it was interesting there with countries being, managed. I actually in Sweden, despite the fact that 50% of our, leadership, and we also have a lot of women in very high positions, unfortunately, we haven't fared very well in the COVID situation. So, there are exceptions. Okay, we don't have a female prime minister. Maybe that is the trick that you need. Right, but our next royal will be a queen, so hopefully, things will move.
Guys, we don't have queen in Brazil, right?
And you don't have a good president either.
In Brazil. I can just share that I agree with Elizabeth. It's education, right? So I can tell you in this COVID situation, I realize that's not a matter of being able to do multiple things, but how tired we get to have to think about it. Because I know my husband helps a lot. He cooks, he cleans, he do everything. But I need to think about it. I need to ask for help. And that is the basic education we need to change. So yesterday, my son, he's 15, right? He came to me to ask about dinner. And I look at him and I say, I'm working, I'm tired. It's 7 p.m. Do you want me to stop what I'm doing to tell you what you are going to eat? Why don't you think about it, right? So this is the kind of mentality we need to change, because typically, beside education on content itself, because it's a different story, right, is cultural and education. And I agree 100%, right? As a mothers, we need to change that from the beginning, right? Because this will end up in a cycle where it's heartbroken, and more boys clubs will come with the mentality they can get a beer after the job and we need to go home to clean the kitchen. That's not right at all. And the second point, just a small thing, is, you know, I live in a city, not in the main São Paulo area, but I live in a small city outside São Paulo, right? So a little bit different than São Paulo is, culturally speaking. But we are in 2020. And until last year, there was a childhood school here that doesn't allow the girls to play football, because girls need to go to the ballet class, right? Ballet dancing. They can dream about it. But there was a little girl that was a friend of my younger, and she was crazy about playing soccer. And there were another one that was crazy about fighting. And the school doesn't allow a judo class for girls or football class for girls. Imagine me, right? I was so mad about it, right? How is it possible to 2020 we are discussing that kind of avoiding girls dreaming to let them go to wherever they want to go, right? So this dreaming thing on women, that is something we need to inspire always, because that will make the difference in the future as well. They need to think they can be more than just a dancer, ballet, or something like that, because typically those are the roles we put men on it, right? So that's another thing that we should inspire and keep changing how the girls think. Why we not allow them to dream to be a pilot, right? We were discussing that in aviation. So when I found that my neighbor, she was the first pilot in Brazil to fly an international big airplane, I cannot remember the one, I was just having a second thought on how they organized their house, because she was the one piloting a plane out overseas, right? And all the people judge her because there is a nanny in the house, someone else to do the housemaid, someone else to drive the kids to school. So this is educational, but also we need to inspire girls to be like her, to be a pilot, to be an engineer, to be a scientist, to be whatever they want to go.
Bhavana, you had a very long day yesterday. I was asking you for something, and then I learned from you 12 hours, a lot of work, and so on. So apologies for this. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Elizabeth mentioned. I want to add something to what she was saying. I think the first step we all must do, men and women alike, is stop stereotyping. You know, stereotyping that the homemaker is a woman, the child bearer is a woman, obviously, but then the child care is a woman's job. That sort of stereotyping needs to end. And I think both men and women do that. And I think that's a starting point. I was in an interesting discussion around COVID when a few people said that now with COVID and more corporates trying to bring in that work from home kind of culture, we will have more women coming into the workspace, you know, because women can sit at home and work and they don't have to go to office and all that. So we were all looking at the opportunities that women may have who have taken break to, you know, take care of their children. Now they can sit at home and work. And surprisingly, two women after the session, they came and spoke to me and they said, Bhavna, do you really think it's an opportunity? Can you just think about me? now I will have to do the office work, bring in the money. I will have to continue doing the household work, which I'm already doing. I have to take care of my children, and imagine the kind of pressure I'm going to have doing everything, and the money that comes from my working in a corporate. That is also very enticing. So unless a society looks at or stops stereotyping childcare, homemaker, all those things as a woman's work, I think it will take some more time. We need to all stop stereotyping women, and we should look at, there should not be a gender for workplace, there should not be a gender for home, except that childbearing is something that a woman does. Everything else should be, we should perhaps stop stereotyping. So I just wanted to add that point to what Elizabeth said.
Thank you, Bhavana. I think, Sandhya, you also wanted to share your thought.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of you, and it's just that I think we all have some kind of an inspirational story behind what we have, overcome, and maybe whichever position we are, it would be really good if we can share those because those are all insights into how we can take it forward. So irrespective of whichever workplace or professional challenge we would have overcome. And that would definitely be a good thing because this is a nice networking group, and professionally too, we would learn a lot, right, from each other's experience. It would be good to share that because when I look at myself, 13 years into teaching, and then I come into the corporate world, it was probably if I had shied away from that opportunity, like I always say, I think we have to bring out the confidence in ourselves and then try to look at it. So when I came in, I just knew the ABC of computers, and I'm coming into an IT organization, and I'm not even sure if people would accept me for what I am. But then thankfully, I have had mentors and bosses all the way who have helped me and empowered me. So be it from day one, it's like interacting with different airlines for change management, trying to lead the team, and various other opportunities within the organization. I think it's a whole lot of, like I said earlier, a lot of backing from the organization as well as from people at home. And so I think if we can come out with those kind of backgrounds which have helped us overcome all this, it would be great. If Daniel, you could include that too as part of the session, it would be really good because that would help us a lot.
I think that's something, of course, we will exchange in the follow-up of this session, some ideas and topics we should discuss in hopefully a third panel with and even more women, because some of the first panel women couldn't make it today, and we have new women, and hopefully you are all sharing the word, and that's a good community. And because of what you said, I think it's all about providing confidence, information sharing, best practice, and I think I'm amazed from what I'm watching here and hearing here, and so we are going to organize this, and I can easily be your facilitator for that.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
To piggyback onto what Sandhya was saying, you inspired me to suggest that we, only for those who feel comfortable, that we perhaps, I don't have a better word for it now, spotlight one person at a time with each of their stories. And I recall that we did that with the women's group that I was a part of at Air Canada. We would have one woman in to speak at lunchtime so people could attend, and they would tell their story, and we would ask questions of them. And it would inevitably promote conversation and discussion. And for those who didn't want to ask questions, they could still listen and feel the sense of community as to, what people went through. And we had people in from outside the industry as well. We had someone who came in to talk about her successful fight against breast cancer and how she managed it as a working mother. We had someone come in from the construction industry. There were all kinds of things that we could do. So apologies for the interruption. Aditi, I see that you've had your hand up for quite a while.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a similar thing, Christian. Even back here in Indigo, we do a similar exercise. So like we have people from the industry with successful stories, people within the company with successful stories and stories of their own. coming and talking about their scenarios. And even we've actually had these small work groups as well, wherein we've got together some women who would, again, a similar group like these, who would like to discuss ideas, come up with suggestions. And we actually had a brainstorming sessions that what could make work easier for a woman, what are the challenges that we're having, so what is it. And with that initiative, we started a daycare facility in office. So like the women would bring their kids, drop them in the daycare facility at work, even at the airport locations. They started having that facility. So even the women, just to empower such women, and you would actually, when you go to the daycare, you can actually see like 6-month-olds and 8-month-olds, that much that women are really wanting to come back to work, or maybe some people really need to come back to work. So what is it that we as organizations can do to actually make that entire experience happen? And the company really allowed that you can go meet your child these many times. You can have a video facility on installed on your laptop, and you can keep an eye on your kid. That's all you need, a sense of security, a sense of figuring out what you need as an individual to be satisfied, along with not compromising with your work. So I think those are the kind of initiative as managers, as leaders, we're supposed to take in our entire workplace, to then pull up the other female members as well, and not just giving up on their careers and their dreams.
And Aditi, like you said, I think it adds a very positive note to even our own selves. Like when we look back, and then it kind of reminds us, we've come this far, definitely overcoming a lot of challenges. There is that grit and that power and that, energy within us. It's a kind of, it's kind of reminding ourselves too. So I guess it would be very positive for us to influence one another.
Yeah, you should see my boss sometimes. He actually, so one of the ladies, if they bring in their kids or something, he's the one who's the most excited looking at the kid, just taking him around or taking the kids around in his own lap. And he's so happy seeing it. And the environment then becomes even lighter and encourages the other person to come to work more often than not. Otherwise, for every little thing, a person would want to take a sick leave or would want to be away from and worry about. And while you're working, then even your stress levels, even the thought process, your efficiency starts to get impacted. So when you have people around that who support these kind of initiatives and really make things work for you, then you also try to give in more of your efficiency towards working, and you see your career there, you see your future there.
It's a give and take.
Yeah, true.
So I see already that you are taking action and discussing in the chat about a Facebook group or LinkedIn group. I can strongly encourage this because I did exactly this for the virtual happy hour. By the way, that's something I can strongly recommend you because we have on a almost daily basis great conversation about everything, and it's a mix of great women and great men. We have a lot of fun. We are talking about even divorce and everything and liquor and so on. So I think a lot of learnings, plus we are also learning a lot about countries. And I think we had some great women presenting their country. And that's also something which amazed me that, of course, everybody is excited and is nervous, but at the end, everybody had a very good experience, and maybe that's also something which I can encourage you to consider to present your country if your country has not been yet presented.
I wanted to add, Daniel, there, it's Anne, that I think it's really great because I think these kind of groups where you can ask people, for instance, when I'm sure it's happened to many of us, you meet people that use suppression techniques, people who will, do some pretty nasty stuff, blanking, what have you. And it's great to get some advice. How do I deal with this? That is extremely helpful. I think, actually, regardless whether you're male or female. But I think sometimes I worked in many projects where there's typically been 48 guys and 2 women, right? And again, it's good to get some feedback on how do you work in this kind of environment. And actually, I can say also, we've been talking about men owning something and owning, the topic, just thanks to their that they are so assertive. Sometimes that can be really wrong. I know at least 2 projects that have failed because of people being so sure of themselves or what they believe in but it was wrong. It was wrong what they believed in.
And to be fair, sometimes people get assigned to a project to lead a project, and they are absolutely and woefully underprepared, underexperienced, all of those words, and yet they don't state that. They don't say, or they don't reach out to the group around them and look for support. And that's something I wanted to mention earlier. One of the nicest people I've ever worked for, kind, was one of my worst managers. He actually said to his team in a meeting, we went every year at Christmas, typically we go out for lunch and then you leave for the rest of the afternoon. He went back to the office and he literally told us that was the best day I've had in so long because none of us were there. Okay, so these are the things that maybe you say in your head and not, you're like, oh crap, was I on mute? Oh, I said that out loud? No, he said it, but he was being honest. But he was promoted to my manager beyond his ken. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't given HR training. Prior to him becoming my manager, I had a hysterectomy a few years ago. And I was going off, and he was one of my main customers when I was writing manuals. And I let him know I'm going to be off for 8 weeks. And he said, why? And I said, I'm having surgery. What are you doing? And I said, He asked me again a week later, and I said, I'm having my sarcasm gene removed. And he said, And so I ended up telling my boss, I'm like, you can't ask questions like that. And first of all, he was very polite and very Colombian and very respectful. He would have been very embarrassed if I told him what I was doing. But again, none of it didn't occur to him not to ask these questions. And it kind of kept going. And I actually made a comment to my HR department, and it didn't go anywhere. So this piggybacks onto another point I wanted to make. And I think I mentioned it at the last session, is that, Nikki, I think you said that there are no female managers beyond a certain level. And HR processes are broken. I myself, for my last job, my manager was the one who pulled out my CV because he pulled all the CVs of people who applied. And he was absolutely appalled that mine had not been put through by the talent acquisition partners. But those poor young people, they don't know really what they're looking for. They couldn't match my 18 years of basically operational engineering without the degree against the job. So I have a very strong suspicion that same oversight, unintentional, exists everywhere. That the HR department can only do what they can do. But I did see, and then I will cede the floor, that there was a woman named Ariel Malo-Wexler. She is the senior VP of HR at Air Canada. She is a freaking powerhouse. She's been around in the company for a very long time, and I saw the progression. I saw the change. It was slow and it was painful, but I saw the changes happening. I mean, she brought in the diversity and inclusion group, which is not pure tokenism. So slowly but surely, if the right people manage to break that bloody glass ceiling, get through, then change will happen. And I'm here to at least help everybody I meet to push further, even if it's just to give a thumbs up and encouragement. We're here for each other. So who's next?
I have a question.
And I think that all the women that have a position, that are in a position of power in any company, it's definitely, I think that we have an extra responsibility, towards all our female colleagues, in order to consider them seriously. I'm not saying about favoritism, I'm not talking about favoritism at all, but I'm saying about giving fair opportunities to everybody, men or women. But looking carefully at women's CVs, at women experience, and not discard them, for reasons like not having not having a degree when you have 20 years experience or something like that. They have a responsibility as well in educating the people that work for us and that work with us.
Yeah.
Sindra, you have raised your hand.
I was just wondering about these things. Like there was a kind of wide themes there coming from mentoring and everything, and I have to say that it's a two-way flow, meaning I have, how to say, lack of respect for authority that is pushed from the top unless it's given from me. If the person like that, who I don't trust and who I don't think is has valid points, would try to mentor me, that would make a clash within me. So it's very important. For me, my mentors, my mom and dad, they're both in IT. One is a programmer, the other is a system analyst. How my family basically works in IT in like almost 3 generations. So for me, if they give me advice on things, that's easily taken. When it comes from the bosses that I don't respect, and this respect has to be earned, not pushed, no mentoring would ever help. And that has to be understood, that there has to be not just a direct management from the top, but I think that my strongest, how to say, backup at the moment, there are 4 ladies that I work with that are other project managers, and none of the top management would ever give me as much, how to say, help than the same level managers that are there every day, sitting side by side, fighting the same problems with different clients, with everything, but they know what they're talking about. And so for me, it's not mentoring, as I think the word in English is camaraderie is more important.
Thank you. Very nice comment. So what is next? That's for me the question. So if you are self-organizing already the groups, I think that's perfect. I just want to show you what is also for you an opportunity, because in our event series we have already plenty of other sessions where you are also invited to join, because I think that's pretty much, of course, from the operations world, but I think also the session 26th of August might be quite interesting, the new not normal. If you are interested to attend such a session, just let me know. We have also guest speakers, so the session on the 4th of August has a guest speaker, Jasenka Rapajic, and Steve Bogie is going to be the guest speaker on the 26th of August. And I also want to thank again Christine and Anne for helping me to create here this momentum in the second session. And I suggest that if you are organizing the Facebook groups, that you're maybe coordinating with Christine and Anne. And we were talking in the earlier session last time that we want to do a joint session. Is this something which we should envision, that we are planning for a mixed session, talking with some male guests where you decide also who to invite? I have already some in mind, but is this something we should plan for?
I think it would be very interesting to, yes. I mean, Daniel, yes. Perhaps I think you were already ready to hear anything we were going to say, but here's a question for you. Has anything shocked you? Has anything surprised you in what you've heard? Are there things that you think that most other males don't realize, don't understand, never thought about?
No, I think what has been said is known to me somehow, and I think it's all about the character of a human being, and not everybody is a good person. Yeah, and if you have a negative person with you, it's affecting everything: family, personal life, professional life, everything. And unfortunately, I think it is not always based on results. It's very often who likes who. I think that's also an important factor. And so that's why, nothing was shocking me. Sometimes I was thinking, why this is there? But yeah, I'm also not perfect. I make also sometimes things. Hopefully my wife is not listening or watching this, because she also has to tell me, can you bring the trash to the, because I know that she is going to do it. She's thinking for me. Interestingly, on job level, I'm different. I'm more pushy and freaking out, but at home I'm a bit the different person because I know there's somebody who takes care of me. So I'm also going the easier way. Maybe that's not an excuse for many men, but I think there's also a difference between personal life and business life.
Yeah.
But no, everything you said, I could totally sign off.
So where I was going with that is that if we're going to have an effective, positive conversation, the people who would, the male people who would participate would be ones who can perhaps, for whom it might be a bit of a, not a surprise, but how do I say this? If we're going to break down stereotypes and barriers and misconceptions, it would be helpful to have people who would then take the information once they understand it and proliferate it throughout their individual organizations, because it's all about change and kicking off change and bringing it forth. So if we're going to do this, it would make sense to have people who will not simply stay silent in their organizations and completely woke and understood, but who will then bring it around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
I would even suggest one of my bosses, maybe.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's a little bit similar like when I'm saying something to my colleagues about, say, an airline and what I feel. Sometimes they don't believe me, and then we make a meeting with this airline. They say exactly the same, and then they believe it. And I think that's maybe something we need to identify. Positive thinking men who are then maybe bringing the same message across to you, which you have already exchanged, because potentially you will always be doubtful. Yeah, this is Christine saying, this is Aditi saying, this is Patricia saying, but a man is maybe thinking differently. And when then you have the confirmation from a man saying one-to-one the same, maybe that's exactly this confidence and trust building. And okay.
If I may, one of the things that I would really like to hear from the men, we've talked a lot tonight about stereotyping, but there's stereotypes that are placed on men that impact us as well. For example, from a career and working perspective, I think it's almost expected that women will ask for flexible working arrangements or something like that, but men aren't afforded the same sort of expectation. And when my husband can't go and negotiate flexible working conditions with his work, well, that has a direct impact on me as well, because then the expectation is that I will pick up that slack in that balance. So I'd be really interested to hear from some of the men of how that impacts them and how that impacts their dynamics, and what needs to happen for that to be changed as well.
Yeah, that's a very nice comment. Yeah.
There was something else that I would like to ask Daniel and also other men, next time, which is, do you feel that this conversation is kind of external to you, which means it is like something that you're just listening but doesn't affect you at all? Or do you feel that this is actually important conversation that affects everybody and also affects the running of an organization, right? How do you feel, Daniel? What would be your...
No, I think I have a lot of male colleagues. I have in my group in the sales organization only a few female colleagues, and I'm always appreciating what they are thinking, because I'm also a very passionate, emotional salesperson, not fact and figures, and I think that's one of the biggest strengths. Now I'm stereotyping, but I think that's one of the stereotypes women should always carry, that they are very compassionate and emotional, and that's something which I think is a big strength. So I'm a big fan of putting teams together according to strengths, and in certain divisions and in certain parts of companies, women can really bring the entire organization very much forward with certain capabilities, that's something where I'm hopeful that this is going forward. And I think when we are sharing best practice now, I think that's maybe also encouraging other companies to follow sample. I was amazed to hear from Aditi what the Indian Airlines doing. I'm also amazed from my company, 50% of all hired people are female. So my company is also doing a lot to empower women, and I think maybe we can export more of this to the world and maybe create a momentum that other people who are a bit reluctant and hesitating are maybe nudged to make this one step, because we are currently all experiencing that a very, very little thing is affecting big systems, big societies, big organizations. So maybe we have to change only a little thing, which is maybe creating this momentum that we can also influence big organizations to at least rethink about something. And then if we identify power women in these organizations, maybe we can little by little improve things.
Yeah, Daniel, isn't it that it's all about diversity, isn't it? That diversity really gives you energy, right? And having different sorts of people and different input. I mean, I work for companies where you can clearly see that the top management all were at the same school, at the same university. They are the same age. They are all male, and of course, I think that's going to, have a negative impact. It's like you said. Good leadership is emotional intelligence. It is, and because if you don't have that, how are you going to understand your customer, and to be able to relate to different customers? That I don't see. And actually, one thing I wanted to say on mentorship as well. That's something I try myself. I mentor people, and I especially mentor younger women. So it's not just about myself having mentors. It is me giving back, and I try to give back as much as I can from my experience, and I see that as a job that has to be done.
Yeah, I'm also challenging and pushing also my female colleagues. So I, with my German directness, sometimes maybe it's too blunt, but hopefully they see that I'm positive and I just want to grow them and evolve them. And I think also this opportunity, and that they all came, and at the end, I think Bhavana, Sandhya, you are the new joiners from my company. You are hopefully set aside that you are part of this, and please spread the word. And I can just tell you, my colleague Marco, I think Marco is also an excellent candidate to be included as a male in the next one. We were just preparing the next thing because we are now planning for the Virtual Happy Hour 7.0, which is a young talent discussion with old kids, because we realized we are already old kids. I'm 51-year-old, he is a little bit younger, and we are just meeting with same age or older. And on the other hand, what is our legacy, and what is the next generation or the two next generations after us requiring? So that's already what we're preparing. And so if you know enthusiastic, smart, upbeat, and positive other women, because these are the 4 major criteria to qualify for Virtual Happy Hour, but also for Virtual Ops 2020, please spread the word and widen the group. And hopefully when we are meeting for the third panel, we are more women, and I will coordinate with you the men we are going to invite. And we are already a little bit over the time, but for me it's only to say thank you. I will again go back to my wife this evening. I will be full of energy, and when she is not understanding it, I will give her the video of the session, because hopefully then she understands why I'm so energetic after the session. So thank you very much for all of you, and you did an amazing job, and looking forward to virtually meet you sometime soon. And my big hope is that we can make such a meeting also in person in the near future.
Oh, that would be
Thank
great.
you very much.
That would be great.
Thank you so
everyone.
much, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you,
organizing.
ladies.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.